It's our own guest, Kamila. Congratulations on that. Very well done.
Isn't that like the country that Borat hates? Once again, the Borat.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What was the name? Uyat. I don't know what he was expecting of me, honestly. Uzbek dad thing.
I've been living in the UK for like 4.5 years and I still have that like terrible accent, honestly.
The difference is she worked on it. I'm not sure if you did.
The forum show. Hello, could you please switch off your phone? Thank you so much.
I realised that after I graduate, bus drivers here in London get paid more than junior architects.
Right.
And I was like, you know what?
I'll be a bus driver.
Wow.
Mashallah.
Mashallah.
Oof.
Where do you get this energy from?
A lot of coffee. A lot of trauma.
Is it something you want to talk about?
100%, yeah. Let's go for it.
What kind of abuse we're talking about, if you don't mind me asking?
Abuse, domestic abuse, violence. When I went to the police.
The oncology, you want it now. Back.
Sometimes you gotta mashallah yourself. With that, I also lost a piece of me, which is the Uzbek language.
How do you feel about that?
Da, rekord ketdi. Rolling. Rekord qilyaptimi? Okay. By the way, we have a gift from Arts in Amty. Thank you so much. I love it. I love it so much.
You got another one as well.
Thank you. Yeah. We have Piola. Yeah, Piola.
Piola, and this is, I think it's called kalampur.
Qalampir.
Yeah,
Pepper.
Yep.
Bu anaqa do'ppini usti.
Do'ppini usti qalampir. Yes. So let's focus on the...
Oh yeah, by the way, we have some... sorry. Sorry again. we have some news. Okay. Yeah, we have some news, by the way. So Uzbekistan is represented at Destinations Travel and Holiday Show in London by Wild Frontiers.
Wild Frontiers.
Frontiers, how do you pronounce that?
Wild Frontiers.
Wild Frontiers.
Have you heard about this?
I have, yes, I have actually heard of it. Yeah. In fact, my dad has sent me about this from Tashkent.
Oh, okay.
He was like, "Oh, Kami, this is happening. You should definitely go." I'm like, okay.
I think Wild Frontiers is quite active in sending tourists to Uzbekistan from Britain.
Yes.
From what I know, I went to their websites. They send people to all over the places, but they put a lot of emphasis on Uzbekistan.
Yeah, and I've watched video. The guy was saying they've sent like 500 tourists to Uzbekistan.
Can you blame them? All the plov.
So that's actually a good thing to talk about. British people don't know much about Uzbekistan. They know about Turkey. They know about, well, obviously India, China.
Yeah, Pakistan.
Spain.
When you say like where are you from?
And
Uzbekistan, Pakistan.
And the fact that we have been talking to Muzaffar Oshbaz in our last episode, and we talked about the success of Uzbek restaurants in London. And the main contributor for the many restaurants that came and go, for their not being successful, is the fact that British people don't know. And there are not enough people who can generate the foot traffic to go and foot traffic and revenue to go and eat in Uzbek restaurants. And I think that these kind of initiatives would improve this image of Uzbekistan. They would know about plov, as you said. They would know about somsa, they would know about culture, and they would start looking for it here in Britain as well. And that will create a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs, for the business people.
What they know is samosa, not the somsa.
Yeah.
Samosa is...
sambusa, in fact. Yeah, they say, Indian sambusa. Yeah, 100%.
Indian or Pakistani.
Yeah. You know what? I actually kind of agree and disagree. A lot of people see Uzbekistan like in National Geographic and a lot of press, magazines, newspapers. They see it. They're exposed to it already firsthand, which is great. But they actually do find out more about Uzbekistan through the people that they know.
Yeah.
We are the ambassadors, technically. Our generation, you know,
yeah, exactly.
the expats, we are the unofficial ambassadors for Uzbekistan. A lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues said they never heard of Uzbekistan before they met me, and now they're like, oh my gosh, I want to go to Samarkand, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, well, that's okay. it's very costly to go to Uzbekistan, I understand. But we do have a mini Uzbekistan here in London, Oshpaz.
Oshpaz, yeah.
Yes.
Let's go.
So as the ambassadors, as you said, the Uzbek community is the ambassador of Uzbekistan here. Do you think we are doing enough? Do you think we can do more? What can we do differently?
I think we are doing enough, simply by, just correcting people that it's not Pakistan, first of all, and second of all,
that's the main issue.
Exactly, and second of all, correcting them when they think that it's a village in Russia, and third of all, giving geography lessons for free. I moved here when I was 11 years old. 16, 17 years ago, I went to a British school. No one has ever heard of Uzbekistan. So I had to give geography lessons for free, even to the teachers, even at adults. They never heard of Uzbekistan ever before. And I used to get bullied for it.
Really?
Yeah, they were like, oh, isn't that a village in Russia? Isn't that like the country that Borat hates? Once again, the Borat.
Oh my God.
I'm so sick of it. Please. But yes, you think that, you're giving this geography lessons for free and you think they're not paying off, but they actually do pay off, because a few years ago, I went to university and I got this random message on Facebook from someone I went to school with. He was just this pure British lad, he just messaged me. He was like, hi, and there was a photo, and it's a photo of him from Samarkand.
Ooh, okay.
And I was like, oh, hello. And he was like, yeah, I'm, I got a job offer in China, but I'm just making a quick stop pit in Uzbekistan. And I thought of you, this is your country. I remember you talking about this. I was like, you know what, this is actually paying off. I can make money out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Referral fees from Uzbek government, from the Ministry of Tourism.
Yeah, if they're listening. But yeah, it does pay off. All these little things do pay off. But as a community, I do definitely think we can do more. And considering, and considering the success of the Uzbek Culture Festival last year, we can definitely do more. Yeah.
You know what else makes good PR for the country? It's sports. I have had many encounters in taxis where British people were talking about our boxers, we're talking about footballers. That's how they know about Uzbekistan.
Oh, actually, once I was just walking on the street and the guy approached me and he started asking random questions, and eventually he asked me where I'm from, and I said Uzbekistan, and he was like, "Are you a boxer?" Yeah, people, a lot of people here they know that we have very good boxers, Olympic champions.
Our boxers did really well in Brazil. They did really well, and I keep hearing about it from British people. Our chess players are doing really well now.
Oh yeah.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
And actually, our second news is the first footballer in English Premier League is coming, or has already came, from Pakhtakar all the way to Brentford in London. So Muhammad Ali Urumboyev,
amazing,
who is quite young, 18 years old, has made a loan agreement for 6 months, which apparently has a potential of becoming a permanent agreement.
Wow,
mashallah. Oof.
So yeah,
guys.
I know which team I'll be supporting now
100%.
from going forward.
Me too. I mean, usually I don't watch football.
Neither do I.
I will start watching football after that.
Guys, we need all the Uzbeks in Bradford, FC
exactly.
with Uzbek flags. We have to. That's it.
Brentford, and he, I'm on their website now. He says it's the dream of every young player to be in the English Premier League. It is actually quite a big thing, and I'm excited to be another step closer to where I want to be. Now I will look forward. Now I'll work hard and show the world that what Uzbek players are capable of. Is that not the representation?
Beautiful.
That's really good. So good luck, obviously.
Wait, who else is playing in Bradford FC? There's someone else.
Romeo Beckham.
Oh,
who's that?
He's the son of Beckham.
The surname sounds familiar.
yeah, Beckham.
Definitely an Ipa baby.
That's cool. And you know what? I'm checking how well
Brentford.
Brentford. Is it Brentford?
Yeah.
Brentford FC is doing on the English Premier League. I'm looking. Just a second. FC table. They are actually doing not bad. They're doing better than I was expecting. They are not at the bottom of the table. They are not being relegated, which is good. They are bottom half, but they're slightly worse than Chelsea. So
just slightly. It's okay. Uzbeks will come and so will the Lux
exactly.
will come.
Yeah, after that, when
Uzbek plov, the power of plov and kaza and everything will show.
Yeah, when Muhammad Ali will start playing,
he will definitely, be the
it will
plug
go up, yeah.
of the kaza, 100% of the protein. He will teach the English football players what real protein is.
Exactly, yeah.
100%.
We are hoping. He's here till June, apparently.
We have to meet him, you guys.
We have to meet him. We have to invite him to our podcast. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows how to reach to him, please let us know.
Please.
If you are watching us, Muhammad Ali,
if you're watching us,
welcome.
Please reach to us. So at #.uk, our Instagram.
So good luck to him. I think he last time I read the news, it was pending some sort of approval. Apparently they need to go through the approval. But looking now at the website of the football club, he's already there. It has been confirmed. So he's here.
That's good. So we have our third news here. Professor Hamid Puran, a scientist and an engineer from the UK, is appointed an academy advisor to director at the Central Asian Green University in Tashkent. So
Murat was asking when I was adding this news to our list, what does it has to do with our community? But then I said, well, it's Tashkent, a British professor, and he's talking about Green University. Apparently, we have a Green University in Uzbekistan.
Honestly, I didn't know this.
Yeah, me neither. So,
but it's a good thing, isn't it?
It's an amazing thing.
The ecological problem is becoming kind of a permanent topic on our podcast. We have been talking about it on the first episode, on the second episode, and now we are talking about it now. So why not to discuss it? A British professor has been appointed as an advisor to a rector of the Green University. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, Central Asian University in Tashkent. I never heard about this university before.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the attention to the ecological problems? I think we can call it problems now because
it's
raised
an issue.
a lot. Yeah.
It's 100% an issue.
Do you think that these kind of initiatives, like opening universities and inviting international scientists, would help the issue?
It definitely would, but I think if it's an internal issue within a country, you do need support of its own people as well, and of its own nation. So what the bloggers have been doing, and I've been seeing on social media, is that they bring this awareness through the viral
Have
the
you
post,
heard of the
song,
home
100%. Yeah, of course.
That's really
And
nice.
he filmed it in summer, and actually a brother of a friend of mine, like he helped it, like
Okay.
with it. So yeah, but yeah, I'm seeing this going viral, and it's helping the public to understand and be more awakened to it.
Yeah,
So,
what's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got another great news.
Oh, I wonder what that is.
Someone has been selected by UN Women in UK as an official delegate for United Nations Commission on the Status of Women.
Oh my God.
We're also known as CSW 68. It's our own guest, Kamila. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Congrats.
Rahmat.
It sounds very formal and official. Tell us what it is.
Please.
Right. Okay. So, UN Women UK does an amazing initiative, a program that started in 2021. Opened up to the public in 2021. They do a program of 2 weeks worth of events, meetings, general meetings, where you discuss issues, awareness, and bring awareness to a lot of different issues. So it changes every year. Last year was about digital. So a lot of my friends and colleagues and people that I know that got involved with it, and it's mostly people and women working in IT and tech. But this year is about poverty and investment in women, which is exactly what I am intrigued by, interested in, working towards. And it's a personal subject for me as well, because I've experienced it. So yes, I will be at the meetings. There's 2 meetings happening in London, and there where I'll be participating and obviously discussing.
So will that lead to some sort of, legislation or some sort of initiatives that will be picked
100%.
up?
Yes.
That's great. That's
Exactly. So all these 2 weeks worth of events, conferences, general meetings and whatnot, they are actually happening in New York, where the headquarters of UN is. There will be live streaming, but also there'll be live events here in London, which I will be attending. And yeah, so I have a lot to say. So
what was the process? Is it like, do you apply for these kind of things?
yes, last year I've applied and I was too late, so I've harassed them, and I think they got kind of sick of me. He's like, "Who is this Uzbek lady?" So they sent me an email before they sent it to general, saying, "By the way, like this is happening again, and we know you were late, so here's the application." And I applied, and application is pretty simple. I'm pretty sure everyone can join if you're passionate about something. A topic that you want to bring up, please apply next year.
Do you know the topic of the next year's?
No, I don't.
Do they how in advance they announce the?
I've only found out once they send me an email out to
Right.
to apply. So yeah.
And you know what you are going to. So you are going to. You will make a presentation, a statement. How does it work?
Yeah, give us some more detail because I'm still like I cannot understand what's going on.
Okay, so as a delegate, if there is a certain topic that you would like to discuss, in my case, it's investment in women who are going through certain circumstances or emergency circumstances. So if someone who's going through domestic violence and abuse, like I have in the past, I was in a system and I've asked the system for help here in UK. There's not much that the system can provide. In fact, I mean, maybe there is, but it's not as informative as it could have been. I was still in educational institution. I was still in college. I was still a teenager when this has happened to me. Thankfully, there's Google. You can Google everything, but it's not in educational institutions. So my aim is to bring this up into these conferences to kind of bring more investment into young girls and women and provide information, provide a safe space to talk where you can get the help.
So it's more like increasing awareness so that people know when they experience something, where to go, what to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That's really good.
And how we can help them, or what's the I don't know, process of helping them.
So you basically like raise the topics.
Okay.
I'm personally new to this, so I'm not exactly sure, but you raise the topics, bring the awareness, argue your topics at the general meetings, and then they take note and there's voting. And once that's officialized and they agreed on, there is official document that they sign at the end.
So you're literally contributing to the
You're
official...
contributing,
right,
exactly.
That's great.
So yeah.
Okay.
You've touched upon your background. Every superhero has an origin story. What is yours?
Oh, wow, okay. Where do I start? How much time do I have? I am from Tashkent originally. I come from a mixed household. My dad is from Fergana Valley. My mum is an ethnic Russian who was born and raised in Tashkent, just like her mother. I immigrated here when I was 11 years old. So essentially spent living in Tashkent until I was 11 and then moved here to London. Raised in Streatham Hill, Southeast London, bang, bang. And I guess my passion for the culture has started because I couldn't find a community.
Right.
Back then, it was what I found, it was very divided. There are Uzbeks who don't want anything to do with Uzbek culture, Uzbek language, nothing to do with the events. As I've heard them say, they cringe at the Uzbek events and anything to do with Central Asia. So what I found is I couldn't find my own community because back then it was very split.
What year it was?
God, so 2007.
Right.
2007.
2007.
Okay. There were not too.
There was not a lot of thing happening back at that time promoting Uzbekistan in a positive way. Obviously.
In any way.
Exactly.
In any way.
Exactly. All of the news were bad news outside of Uzbekistan. So I do understand why that might happen back then.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Uzbeks I was meeting and it was divided. So there were the Uzbeks who wanted nothing to do with Uzbekistan, the culture, the language. And I think that comes from a trauma. So whatever they've experienced in a society, in the culture, or simply because they couldn't separate the culture from the politics, which I understand is a completely different topic. And then there's a type of Uzbeks who live, laugh, and love in Uzbek.
Yeah.
Like they're so consumed by the culture. They love everything to do with Uzbekistan.
I think those people are who have been living like far from Uzbekistan and they miss their homeland.
Yeah, maybe it is. But what I found is that they have their own way of understanding what Uzbek culture is, and they're trying to protect that.
Right.
Like they vision of it.
Do you think to the point of them not willing to integrate into the
Exactly.
local culture?
Exactly.
Right.
Maybe that is, but it also not very welcoming to people who are in the middle like me.
Right.
So I'm essentially third culture kid.
Yep.
I don't know the language properly. I'm trying my best, but they're not welcoming that. To them,
Well,
it's like, oh, you're Uzbek from Uzbekistan, so you're Russian, but you don't speak Uzbek, so you're Russian, which is not exactly. It creates a hostile environment for someone who is trying to learn. But yeah.
But it's not your fault that you moved at the young age, and obviously you were not raised among the Uzbeks. So I think the fact that you're trying to learn and presenting the culture is the big thing, and it helps Uzbekistan to promote it more here in the UK. If it makes sense.
It does indeed.
Okay.
do you think it changed now?
100%.
It did.
Yeah.
What do you think is the contributing factor?
I realized I don't have a lot of people surrounding me in my early 20s when I started going to university. Like I met a lot of people from Central Asia, students who came here to study in university. But once, the studies end, they go back home. But there's not a lot of people who actually were raised here or born here, and they're trying to connect to the roots. So I started to post on social media a lot. Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. And I started to attract the audience who are just exactly like me. First, it was international. So USA, Denmark, a few places in Australia,
Okay.
Europe. It was amazing. And because I draw and I sell it, they started to purchase my merch as well from it.
Wow, that's good.
And then I started promoting events that are happening, like Nowruz at UCL and stuff. And I started to attract the locals. So I started to attract people who were born and raised here. I started to attract people who were married to Uzbek. So they're English, British, Europeans, and they really want to learn about their spouse's culture.
Yeah.
I started to attract Uzbeks who were from Afghanistan,
Yes.
ethnically Uzbek, but from Afghanistan, and then moved to London, who are trying to learn more about their culture as well and reconnect. So I started to attract a lot of different people locally. I was like, oh, wow, so there is a community here after all. I'm not alone. I'm not on my own. And I started to kind of share more and more and more. And I started to create my own little platform in my own little community, and I started to connect with like-minded people. So it's definitely has changed from 2007 to now.
Yeah, that's great.
That's amazing.
So you came at the age of 11. You didn't know the language?
English?
Yes.
Well, we had intensive English lessons before we moved here, and my dad made me watch Bridget Jones and Hugh Grant movies and made me watch all the documentaries about the royal family.
Right.
But once you
I can see it paid off at the moment.
Thank you. But once you move to London, you can never be prepared for the amount of accents in here.
Oh, yes.
Everyone has an accent and everyone speaks differently, completely. I remember I went to my first class in a British school, and instead of saying sheet, can I have a piece of sheet? I said a piece of shit. So people took the piss out of me for a while. And everyone just says things differently. At first I was speaking a bit, Cockney, can I have some water?
Yeah.
So I was trying
water.
a bowl of water. So I was trying to find myself and trying to integrate into the culture, into the accent, into the language. But yeah, I did speak English, but I was too anxious. But yeah, it took a while, maybe 3 years for me to lose the accent. But yeah.
Did you actually work on it?
100%. I
You
watched.
did?
Yeah, I
3
watched.
years.
3
I've
years.
been living in the UK for 4.5 years, and I still have that terrible accent. Honestly,
The difference is she worked on it. I'm not sure if you did.
yeah, definitely. I should start working on it.
I surrounded myself with English middle class kids.
That might be the key.
Okay.
Yeah, and I watched a lot of Coronation Street, so
Right.
a lot of Corrie, and watched a lot of basically local British stuff. But yeah, I was very determined because I realized they don't take you seriously. Like teenagers in UK are very brutal. They don't take you seriously unless your English is perfect. Like they will bully you.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? No one can use that against me. So my English will get so much better than yours, even though that's the only language you speak. So you can't use it against me. But then with that, I also lost a piece of me, which is the Uzbek language.
How do you feel about that?
Complex, conflicted. There was a lot of shame initially because language does play a role in how well you know your culture.
Did you speak Uzbek before coming to London?
As a little kid, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But then I lost it because I had no one to practice it with. And you're too busy as a kid to try to integrate into the culture, new community, new language. They think differently. The mindset is completely different. So I was too busy trying to integrate and survive, essentially, into the new community.
But I see a lot of people who try to integrate and that try too hard that they completely forget their roots and where they came from. That did not happen with you. What do you think is the contributing factor for that?
My family.
Right.
My aunts used to make me watch Super Kilinchak.
All right. Yes.
Which now gives me post-traumatic stress disorder because it's everything I disagree with. But yeah, I guess my family, my aunts, maybe that, and also me trying my best because there is a piece of you, whether you agree with it or not, it's in your blood. Your blood will always call your name, and there's a lot of wisdom in our culture that we don't realize until much later.
There is a tendency that I observed in the Uzbek community where the parents try really hard for their kids, the second generation, not to forget the language and the culture, but it's not always an easy thing to do. What do you think, as a third culture kid, as you said yourself, do you think that this kind of approach, strictly forcing the kids to only speak Uzbek at home or things like that, is a good way to make them maintain their cultural heritage? Or do you think there are better ways of doing that?
Maybe there is. Everyone's approach is different. I met a lot of my friends now, like they have kids, and they speak Russian at home. Outside, they speak English. So they're trying to integrate, Uzbek as well. So maybe they watch cartoons in Uzbek only. I mean, it works different for everyone. But personally speaking, I found it so hard because the Uzbek language is not Duolingo.
Yes.
Uzbek language is not on any apps like Turkish. Or like any other language out there you can easily learn. Even Google Translate doesn't offer like a perfect, crisp translation. So it is harder for me as well to learn as an adult, let alone a kid. So maybe that's the correct approach. You force in something that is not yet developed. And there are teachers out there, like in Uzbekistan, like very, very good teachers. And they actually contacted me, like some of them. They've seen my content and like, let's collaborate on something.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, there are teachers out there. It's just when you're an adult, you have to find time and space for that.
Yes.
It might be a very good opportunity for you or for other teachers like to integrate that Uzbek language lessons to the platforms like Duolingo and others.
Yeah.
There was a big initiative on localizing Han Academy, so maybe there should be another initiative.
Agahan, did you say?
Han Academy.
Oh, okay.
Han Academy, the online platform. Kamila Erkabaeva was quite actively involved along with others. Maybe similar initiative should be made for localization of Duolingo, creating Uzbek content and things like that.
Yeah.
So if anyone is listening from our listeners has some context, let's do it. You came here at the age of 11. You started school. You said that you had some not pleasant experience because of your background, and you get over it by hard work and trying to integrate, learn the language. So going back to art, you're quite an arty person. Was it a gradual transition, or was it always there?
It was always there. I come from a family of architects. My eldest uncle, Uncle Murad, he was an architect. He was initially an artist. He was drawing a lot and he wanted to be an artist. And just happened by fate that when he went to Moscow during the 80s, he was a bit of a hippie as well. He had long hair and everything. He was like a cool uncle back in the days.
With the white trousers.
Yeah. There are photos. So he wanted to be an artist. He went to Moscow to study arts. They said no. And they were like, well, with the amount of exams that you've done and everything else, you can be an architect. So he took the chance and became an architect, and he became a very good architect. He's very well known in his circles. And I looked up to him. I grew up looking up to him because he was very successful, wealthy and everything else. He had amazing stories. But I didn't realize that all of my cousins also were looking up to him. So I'm a seventh to
So he was a cool uncle.
He was a cool uncle, but not cooler than my dad, obviously.
Right.
You mentioned that you were doing stuff and selling to others. Like, is it the same thing?
Yeah.
It was the same thing?
Yeah. So the pins, my jewelry pins.
Okay. Tell
so-
me more, please.
We'll get there. Let's talk about architecture and how it
Gradually became
became
Yeah.
the business.
So I rushed it.
So
Sorry, guys.
it's okay. So yes, and then I started to draw ever since I was 7 years old. So it was little drawings. My dad has noticed it, and he was like, you know what, I'll get you teachers to study it properly, watercolor, whatever techniques. I was learning about different techniques. And then my dad, one day I was doing an art exam, and he looked at my art and he was like, I don't understand your art. Like, what is that? Like, I was like, Dad, that's just, express, like I was expressing, it was abstract art. He's like, that's not art. Like, I don't understand it. Like, give me something I would understand. Can you draw love? Can you draw the feeling of anger? Can you draw the feeling of sadness?
Well, that is the abstract kind of thing that he has asked from you. How can you draw love?
I don't know what he was expecting of me, honestly. Uzbek dad things.
What did you draw at that time?
At the time, before I was drawing what I'm drawing now, basically, I was just, colors, random, flowers, like a cute little nature things.
Okay.
But then after that, my dad asked me, can you draw your anger? Can you draw your sadness? Can you draw your happiness? Can you draw your love? I started to explore it more, and I started to think more as surrealist. And I started to post it on social media, and and that's how I kind of progressed.
I was looking at your art, and I can tell there's a lot of emotions in there.
Oh, thank you.
There are a lot of emotions, and do you think that what your dad asked you to draw has pushed you to explore this area, to express your emotions through your
100%.
artwork?
Yeah, I think he did it subconsciously as well, because essentially art became a therapy. It became also a bridge between myself, my feelings, and bridge between myself and other people. So I've connected with a lot of different people. They send me messages, someone that they've lost due to suicide, let's say, and they're like, oh, I saw your art with sunflowers, and I'm going to purchase it. It just reminded me of my friend who I'm lost. She loved sunflowers. And so they were connecting with me on different levels and with their stories. But I started to draw, started to learn, and I got into it, and my dad was like, I think you should be an architect, it's good money.
Is it?
Listen, in my second year of university, I realized that after I graduate, bus drivers here in London get paid more than junior architects.
Ooh.
Right.
And I was like, you know what?
I'll be a bus driver.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you started to.
I mean, I'm very stubborn, so I've graduated. But then I was like, you know what? That's not for me. Like, I have to study 5 years, 2 years in practice, so 7 years overall. When is the money going to kick in? Like,
Which university did you go?
Westminster and Baker Street here. in
Oh,
London.
Westminster at Baker Street.
Yeah.
So you do not work as an architect?
Not anymore.
Right.
I've tried, and I also worked in a company that focused on facade cladding investigations, external
Right.
facade cladding investigations, post-Grenfell.
Yeah.
Worked there for 3 years. Tried to incorporate everything I know from my course so it doesn't go to waste. And then I left. But and I got into culture and creative field.
So what do you identify yourself as? Are you an architect? Are you an artist? Are you a cultural ambassador, as I've read in a couple of places.
I'm a human being.
You're a human being. That's the most important part.
Hammasidan bir shingel. How you say in Uzbek, yeah?
I guess when I meet people, I say I'm a cultural leader of Uzbekistan here in London, which is the truth because I do work with an organisation to promote the Uzbek culture to the wider audience here in UK and London. I say I'm an illustrator. I also work with a Turkish brand, jewellery brand, where I get my mentorship from the founder. And I work freelance with Ambassador of Culture and Tourism of Uzbekistan, Sophie Ibison. So there's a lot of things that I'm doing all at once.
That's great. That's great.
That's amazing.
And I admire people with like energy of yours doing a lot to, first of all, promote the culture, to kind of unite the society. Where do you get this energy from?
A lot of coffee, a lot of trauma that I've experienced. I guess it comes from, I'm not going to lie, it comes from the source of trauma.
Is it something you want to talk about?
100%, yeah, let's go for it. It comes from the source of trauma where I was not accepted, where I felt like I couldn't find the middle, I couldn't find the center. And I know there are people out there who also feel the same, not just because they're third culture kids, but because they might be from minority groups. So there might be LGBTQ communities who also talk to me, and like I try to support them as much as I can as well. It comes from that root. It also comes from the root I've noticed, even here in UK, is big organizations, big foundations, big institutions giving voices to those who are just from certain families. Tanış bilish, is that what it is?
Tanış bilish, yes. Tanış bilish.
I'm sick of it. Even here in UK, I see it.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Like you can't avoid it. So I was sick of it, and I was like, you know what? What makes me any different? I just have as much experience. I just have as much stories. I can also go to the library, read a amount of books. I also went to university. What makes me any different? So I kind of started to explore that and kind of started to meet people who can help me. I started to slide into people's DMs without any shame, contacting people who can help me with mentorship. There's a lot of people who have helped me to explore myself within cultural work, within the creative work. They said, you know what, you can contact that person. You know what, I'll propose you to read this book. You should be working with this organization that will help you. So I kind of started to evolve from there, from that little anger, from that little thing that I've experienced.
So the anger and the experience we are talking about is the bullying that you've experienced when you came to the UK?
Yes, the bullying of where no one understood me. Also not being accepted in the communities here who don't accept me as someone who is an Uzbek who doesn't speak Uzbek.
Is there an anger to the Uzbek community of that time? And what you're doing now is kind of trying to show them how it meant to be?
No. I understand them as well because I understand where they're coming from. I also understand that it's what their idea of Uzbek culture, and they're trying to like preserve it basically. And it also comes from the root of trauma. So I understand them as well. But no, I don't feel anger at all.
You are, we have talked about raising awareness, about empowering women, equality. And on the other side, there's Uzbek culture, which sometimes may appear to be clashing with these notions and understandings. What do you think of that? Do you think that there is an element of our culture that actually supports and encourages the equality, empowerment of women, and it's just the interpretation of the culture that is clashing at the moment with this kind of...
To be honest, I don't think it's a cultural thing. It's more religious thing.
I don't think it's religious or cultural. I think it's society, honestly.
Education?
Education as well. Educational institutions do not provide talks on these things, which this is what pissed me off the most when this has happened to me. I was not prepared. You know, as a kid, as a teenager, you have school, maybe some after school classes, and home. There is no third space. Essentially, the teenager, the kid, they only have educational institution to rely on when it comes to things. They talk about a lot of things here in British schools. They talk about, personal health, hygiene, protecting yourself during intimate...
Sexual education.
Exactly.
And everything, yep.
They talk about that. In fact, they show how to protect yourself. But they don't talk about refugees. They don't talk about abuse, domestic abuse, violence. They don't talk about these topics enough. There were a lot of refugees, children in my school from Afghanistan. They need a different approach. The educational system don't provide that. And there's no safe space. I felt like there was no safe space for me to talk about these things when I was a kid. I was scared. I experienced domestic violence and abuse, and I didn't know who to go to because I was so scared. What if I tell the wrong person and then they go to the police and then, I'm disattached from my mother because the abuse was happening from her husband? I was scared. And also I'm an immigrant on top of that, at the disadvantaged field, basically. So I've experienced it, and I think it's more of a social thing, honestly. It's nothing to do with religion or culture. It's a social thing. So
the way to address that is educating people.
Conversations. Opening conversations up. After I've talked about from my personal experience a year ago or 2 years ago, publicly, I had so many different messages from different people who have also experienced something similar. I've had colleagues, friends coming to me for help because they were currently in those situations. They didn't know who to go to, even though they lived in London for 5, 6, 10 years. They're like, who do I call? Cami, like, what did you do? So I was helping them, guiding them and talking through that. But there's no, we need conversations basically. And it needs to start from the teenage years.
And you are happy to take on yourself to be the proxy of the people who reach out to you to help through your experience, through your knowledge. Is it okay, for example, if someone who is watching us at the moment who may be experiencing the similar things, reach out to you?
To contact? Yeah, of course, 100%. There's a lot of help here in UK and London that you can get. You can honestly just Google it and you can see it as well. But there is no safe space to talk to. Like when I went to the police has said, well, you can do a report and then whoever is abusing you, we will basically take him out. But his friends know where you live, you're not in a safe place. Or you go to another different part of London, different borough, and get help. It's like, okay, but what about financial help? What about, I don't know, like mental health?
Yeah,
exactly.
What about these things? And I was, in my A-levels, I was in college. What do I do? Like when I go
A-levels is very stressful experience on itself.
So you even went to police, right?
To help. But like,
you went to police, you went to shelter as well, you said?
Yeah.
Right.
I have a question. What kind of abuse we're talking about, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Like,
it was physical, emotional, verbal. So it started off from verbal, emotional, and then once it got to physical, I was like, Mom, like that's it. We need to like get out.
okay.
Like there's no way. And it was a very when that has happened to me, it was one of those moments where before that I've also experienced oncology. So I was like, Mom, like I've already been through life and death. I don't want to go through that again. So we need to leave. Like that's it.
And to be honest, like you are telling
sorry, I'm
this
just like
story.
dropping.
No, you're telling this story, and my heart started beating like. And I'm like, what would be your advice to people who are having the same trauma?
There are different dimensions of your trauma.
Yeah, I know.
The more you talk, the more I realize.
What would be your advice to people that having like same experience as you?
The way I've dealt with it is I was very proactive. I didn't think. I didn't have time to feel things. I didn't have time for my emotions. So I was very proactive. I was like, okay, that's it. Like it just happened overnight. I was like, Mom, packing everything we have, all the valuables. And we actually forgot to pack a lot of documents with us, like a lot of essential things. like we just packed rushly. We only had like £15 between us, and I was like, you know what, that's it. Like we need maybe 50 or 40, but it doesn't matter. But but we were just proactive. Overnight, I was like Googling what can you do in a situation, and I didn't realize the fear until much later. I didn't realize the emotions much later, and once I felt the emotions, I've dealt with them through art.
Right.
I did obviously I went to therapy as well to kind of help me to release everything that I felt, and I think for if there's someone who's going through something similar and whatnot, I think it's important to take actions and also understand what you're feeling and release that, because you don't want to spend many years with this resentment within you towards the people around you or life overall. You might have a bad moment, but you don't have a bad life. That's the main thing.
How old you were at that time?
I was 16, 17 when I was going through oncology, and then 17, 18 when we left home.
Okay.
The oncology, you won it now.
Yes.
That's great.
It's fresh out. Like, I mean, nothing is there anymore. I check up, so yeah.
it's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, I admire how much fighter you are.
Thank you.
I mean, as I said, multiple dimensions of the trauma and experiences that you had, and you are always beaming and gleaming, which on itself is quite a lot to get inspiration from. So
thank you.
Keep doing that. The art, you said, helped you a lot to get through this trauma.
Yes. Thanks to my dad, who basically guided me, whether subconsciously or not, to release all the emotions through the artwork. So I started to draw a lot during those times. Even when I was in hospital, I was drawing constantly. I had doctors coming to me for checkups every day, and they're like, "What did you draw today?" So I was drawing in hospital. I was drawing when me and my mum lived in one single room for 2 years after we left the domestic household. Constantly drawing, constantly posting about it. It has helped me a lot because it felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to sometimes. So this is my way of conversation. This is my way of having a conversation, which helped me a lot with my degree as well.
Great. And as a person who's not very much artistic, I can if I can sense that energy, that emotion, that conversation, as you said, I think I'm sure you're doing a really great job with your artwork.
Thank you.
How often do you, well, again, I think I'll reveal my lack of knowledge of art, but how long does it take to create a piece of work that you create?
It depends. Sometimes it takes me an hour, sometimes it takes me 4 days, but sometimes it takes me a week. So it depends. It depends what the message is behind what I'm drawing. There was one poster I drew. It's basically like the pins that I have here, you guys have here. And it was like a little poster, and there was different elements from the Uzbek culture that I wanted to explore. And somehow it became political. It was, so Piala, it was Kalambur, it was Doppe, and I think it was Kilin. So I posted it, wrote about it, what it symbolizes, and it went political. People in comments, I had people in comments writing, why you, it was Pachtagul as well, I drew Pachtagul. And they were like, why are you drawing Pachtagul? You know, this is awful. I had people messaging me, you're glorifying Killinization. There is apparently a term, Killinization. You're glorifying it. Why glorifying it as offensive? Are you not a feminist? And this is why I draw what I draw, and this is why I post, because it gives you room to explore the topics and conversations. But I didn't know that my art can be political, and it can open up so many things.
But is it bad for an art to be political?
Absolutely not. I think that's amazing. No, that's what art is meant to do.
That encourages all this conversation.
Exactly. Right. It's meant to open conversation. It's meant to be a bridge between all these conversations, all these topics that need to be explored, especially in our society, especially within our culture. But they were attacking me. Honestly, they didn't even understand where I'm coming from. So they were just like at it, you know. And I was like, bloody hell, just let's have some chai. Like, come on.
Relax.
Relax, you know.
But where did you get the idea to sell as I understood, you sell your art, right?
Yeah.
And the paints. So where did you get the idea from? Like selling it, and how did you start selling it, and how was it going with your art business in general?
with just like anyone else, I had an imposter syndrome. So I didn't believe in myself until I had a circle of friends who were like, Cami, that's it. Like, you need to draw. Come on. Like, you need to sell it. And they invested a bit of money and they gave me that as a present. They became like my angel investors. So thanks to them, a huge thank you. And they were like, you know, this is the sum of money. Cami, like, this is our investment. Don't let us down. Please open your website and start selling. And I was like, wow, like, I have a circled group of friends that believed in me. So, you know, I must do this. I opened the website within 3 days.
Okay.
Myself.
Yourself.
Myself.
That's great.
I mean, I'm bigging myself up, but honestly, on Squarespace, there's a lot of like little, there's a ways, it's easy. It's more easy than you think.
I'm looking at the website now. It's really amazing. What is the most popular item there?
Sunflowers.
Sunflowers.
Pins. And sometimes you gotta mashallah yourself. The
Oh
bag.
yeah. That was great.
Yeah. The
What's
bag.
that?
The
There's
bag
a
is a
tote
tote
bag.
bag. Sometimes you gotta mashallah yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I really like the Uyghur girls, Uyghur
Yeah.
Kızlar as well.
Uyghur Kızlar,
Yeah, that's great.
It's after me connecting to the Uyghur community here in London. Yeah.
The artwork, as I said, is great.
Thank you.
And
That's
obviously,
the,
very best of luck to Artinamti. It's artinamti.com.
Artinamti.
If anyone wants to visit, we'll put it on the description as well. When we talk about art, we cannot not talk about AI and
Oh my gosh,
generative
yes.
AI. There are different extremes. Some say that, moderately say that AI is a tool to express yourself. And the other extreme is AI is just killing off artistic expressionism. Where do you sit in that?
I definitely think it's a tool that allows you to explore more mediums. I'll be honest, I don't think there's any art out there that's original anymore. I don't think there is such a thing as an original idea anymore. Someone is always taking something from someone. Someone is always inspired by someone. And I think that's okay, as long as you kind of give the credit and talk openly and truthfully about it. But what AI does is gives you a different dimension of experiencing art. And I think that's amazing. Whether people using AI to generate arts and call themselves artists, that's a different topic.
There are AI artists now, yeah? There
Yeah.
are people who call themselves AI artists.
There is a film documentary, Exit Through the Gift Shop, which essentially is exploring kind of that idea, basically. The first steps, kind of the... so it's basically about this guy, I think he's from Mexico or French, I don't remember. He follows Banksy everywhere, and he's into the graphic art. And he's like, oh, like, you know, Banksy is amazing. He's popular worldwide. How am I any less more important? So he's not an artist at all. So what he does, he starts recreating Banksy's art. He hires a group of graphic designers, illustrators, reproduces the art, basically recycles someone else's art and sells it and makes millions out of it.
Whoa, okay.
So he calls himself an artist.
And is it not, how does it work with the copyrights and all that?
That's the question. That's the thing.
He is a very good businessman.
Well, check him out, you know.
I saw some courses, people doing courses and selling them, like how to give right prompts to AI, so you get like.
I think what makes the art is the story behind it.
Yes.
Is the person behind it.
And the message.
And the message behind it. So with the generative artwork, AI artwork, there might be a message. Yeah, I mean, you might prompt something for AI to create, but there's no person, there's no emotion, there's no story. So I think that people value that bit of the art rather than the actual outcome that generated either by artist or the LLM.
You know what? I think art is something, you look at the picture and it might be a completely different message to what the original message is. You respond to it through whatever's inside of you. And this is how it creates the impression, whether art is valuable or not. It's very, you know, it's how do I say, it's based on your concept of yourself and how you see the world.
It's based on your concept of the world as a creator and how you see the world, and it also depends on the person who is interpreting your
Exactly, yeah.
and
The viewer.
that might be completely different as well.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of that.
Exactly.
So again, I am on the discussion or debate of like AI taking over some jobs and professions and etc. I don't think that will happen because we as human beings value the work of other humans, not the algorithms or models or whatever it is.
I agree with you, 100%. We want to know the person, and I think this is why I started when I was posting my artwork. The profile was public but anonymous. I never showed my face, and then I was like, people are asking who am I. People still don't know my name sometimes. When they see me in public, they're like, "Oh, Asinamsi, I'll follow you." I was like, "It's Kamila. Nice to meet you." They are interested to know the person behind the creations.
100%.
They want to know who this person is.
Yeah.
People are curious. Like we as human beings, we're very curious.
Yeah.
We want to know everything, and this is why influencers, they're famous with their vlogs. You know, how you eat, how you sleep, you know, how you
Yeah,
talk,
exactly.
everything that you do. We're just very curious.
Personal brand is really, really important. So I do social media for companies, for restaurants, and etc. When I post when I make a post about the founder or the staff working within the company, it gets like much more reach, you know, and it gets more likes, more comments, and etc. So that's why, like, we all know the story with Tim Cook, the Mark Zuckerberg, you know. And yeah, I think people have to really work on it, on a personal brand, the business owners, and not only.
Story is important. Yeah, people buy stories. They don't buy product. They don't buy artwork. They buy the stories. And you have an amazing story.
Thank
you. I mean, again, I'm still trying to process all the information I got. And I think it was a good decision to kind of link your art and your business to the story that you have, and that will actually contribute to the awareness that you're trying to raise as well.
I agree with you, and I think that was my initial approach, and I have received a lot of messages, as I said, from people who have experienced something similar, not just domestic violence and abuse, but oncology at the young age and stuff. But a lot of them are scared to open up publicly, because if there is someone from our community or like from our culture, they're scared to open up because, you know, the parents tell them, God forbid, you won't get married.
That's I think that's the big.
You know, what would the neighbors say?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
What would the neighbors say? Uyat. They're worried to open up, and I'm like, by what do you value? Like, what is the message that you want to live by then? Like, it's now up to you to decide. Like, but I think people should open up. Once again, from the discussions, a lot of things can change.
So I think we were talking about AI. We were talking. What we said is, I don't know if you're going to put it. We had some technical issues, but we're continuing. So we were talking about us as human beings being more interested about other people's stories.
Yes.
And we talked about you linking your art and business to your personal story. And
Uyat.
Uyat. That's where we stop. So again, your recommendation to people would be, don't think of those stigmas that society impose on you. Put yourself in the first place and open up to conversations.
Exactly.
Share your stories.
Exactly.
Don't be afraid. Let's hear it from you. How would you encourage the people to open up?
Your bad experience could be the
opportunity to so much more.
Yeah, exactly. Opportunity to your success.
Exactly. Everyone has a villain. Every villain has a story. Every hero has a story. And I think all the little bad things that have happened to you, don't see them as your weakness, see them as your strength, and use them to your advantage. make opportunities out of them. I've made opportunities out of them for sure. Like, so definitely make opportunity out of it. Think of the message that you have inside of you and kind of release it. Your close family, friends will understand you. They will support you. They might not understand why you're doing it. I'll be honest. At first, my dad didn't understand why I'm going with this cultural work. He didn't understand. He was like, why? You moved here when you were 11. Why are you doing it for? Like, what are you getting out of it? Is anyone paying you? But I saw the bigger picture. I saw from the wide eye view. I understood the potential of where it will lead me. So here I am.
Great. Kamila, we obviously we can talk for quite a long time. Your story is really interesting, and we do want to talk. I hope you'll come back again, and we will continue this conversation.
I have a lot of questions left.
Yes,
I have more traumas to discuss.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll discuss more success and both in business and life in general. We have different segments in our podcast, as you have realized. We normally give a free kind of microphone to our guest where you can talk about anything you want. Just look at the camera.
Whatever you want.
No interruptions, no limits, just you and camera.
Yaxşı. Okay, cool. I'll take my glasses.
I love it. Yaxşı.
If you're a young creative or someone who is surrounded by those who don't believe in you, or you realize that your surroundings is not something that you want to be with anymore, that's okay. Please explore yourself in other ways, and please be brave about it. Do whatever you need to do. There's no shame in sliding into the DMs. In fact, glide into the DMs. Use everything as an opportunity to kind of show yourself, and as you never know who will open up the door, just knock. So yes, I think that's it.
Thank you so much.
And go to Artinamti and make sure you support Kamila's efforts.
I mean,
Artinamti.com.
This is so lovely. I love it.
Thank you. I mean, no hard pressure, of course, but yeah.
We have another new segment. Can I call it segment?
We can call it segment.
Yes.
We can call whatever we want. It's our podcast.
So so this is the first time we're doing it with you. What book would you suggest to our viewers, to our subscribers?
And why?
And why?
God, there's actually so many books. You put me on a hot
What's your favorite
Put me on a spot.
that changed your life?
Bloody hell. Right. I think one of the books that I've read, it comes from a personal experience. I met someone. I had a friend, and she got married for a third time in her 30s, early 30s. She had a kid. She also went through something similar as I have, domestic violence and abuse. And her third marriage is a happy marriage, good marriage, healthy marriage. And when I met her husband, I asked him, don't you guys want to have a kids of your own? And he said, have you not seen the world? Have you not seen how negative it is? Have you not seen how it's going downhill? And I was like, what do you mean? No, it's improving. He's like, no, it's not improving. I don't want to bring a kid into this world. That's selfish. I'm happy that she has a kid from another marriage. I treat that kid as my own. That's enough for me. I had a very long thought. I got a little bit depressed about it. And then I got recommended a book called Factfulness by Hans Rosling. I think Hans Rosling's I've read. Factfulness is a book about hope. Is a book about how the world is in fact improving. Don't believe the negative thoughts. Don't believe the negative people who want to convince you that the world is going down. Of course, there's wars going on, 100%. Of course, they always have been, there always will be, unfortunately. But Factfulness is one of the books that I've read which kind of made me realize that there's hope.
That's great. I'll definitely go and...
Guys, if you want to read that book, we'll put the link in the description. Feel free.
To get
go to
factful.
to
get factful.
To get factful.
How do you say that? Go through the link and purchase it.
One final kind of segment. I think we can call it. Let's call it segment. I don't care. One last thing that tradition, or we can call it tradition.
Yeah, tradition.
One last tradition.
Is the word.
We want to kind of keep on our episode is to ask the guest a question that was asked by some previous guests.
Oh, I wonder who that is. Ooh.
Yeah, we have many guests before, so you don't know who the question is from. But the question is actually we have touched upon the topic during our conversations.
Yes.
It's about bringing up the kids, the third culture children or second generation. I don't.
Third culture kids.
Third culture kids. Yes. What can you do to make sure that your kids will be linked to their culture? And as you are the actually a person who have preserved your links with Uzbekistan, what do you think the parents should do to encourage the kids to be linked to their culture?
Well, I'll start with the most dramatic, which is language. Encourage your children to speak in Uzbek. Encourage them to watch the programs in Uzbek language. It doesn't have to be Uzbek programs per se, but in Uzbek language, that's one thing. And encourage your children to cook with you in the kitchen. Food is universal language of it all. I was taught to learn how to cook mante with my mom. We did chuchvara. We learned how to cook it together.
Do you know how to cook plov?
With my dad, yes.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, my dad taught me how to make toy plov, my favorite. My brother actually cooks very good plov. He doesn't know how to make omelette, but he cooks an amazing plov. Amazing plov. Encourage your children to help you in the kitchen because food is the most universal language out there. You can learn so much and you can connect with so many people through the food. Last week, I actually went to Oshpaz to introduce my friends from Azerbaijani community, true Uzbek plov. They were in Ave. At first, they were like, oh, are you sure that'll be enough? 2 big lagans of Osh. I was like, guys, you'll be rolling out of there. Trust me. You will be so addicted, you'll be coming back again. And I was right. They're coming back next week.
Nice.
That's great. That's actually quite a different suggestion that I've heard. I've never heard someone suggesting their kids to learn how to cook, to fall in love with the food, and through food to get connected with the culture.
Absolutely.
Have you been teaching your kids how to cook?
My
Big dishes?
yeah. Well, I haven't because I'm a horrible cook myself. Well, their mum, she's doing a really good job teaching them how to cook traditional.
Ooh,
Bang bang,
okay.
you're amazing.
Yes. Shout out to her from here.
Yeah.
Great, Kamila. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Katta rahmat.
That
It
was so interesting.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did.
And as we said, we are always open for another rounds of these kind of discussions in the future.
Course. It felt like I'm in a therapy session. It was just,
I hope it's a good comment.
Catching up with my friends, So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
Yay.
And that's it. Thank you.
Great.
Yay!
Kamila, very successful, I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion.